possibly one of the worst losses I've ever seen for the Chiefs, and I really do mean that. Just the way we lost the game, the mannerisms. I really struggle to think back to a loss that it just hurt that much, and that's even including the two Super Bowl losses to the Eagles and the Buccaneers. It reminded me of that Bengals loss in the AFC Championship game. Just the mannerisms, the team falling apart, combusting after such a great start. You go up 14-0, and the Chiefs are sailing, and we think, well, here we go. We're going to absolutely dispatch these guys, just as we expected. It's going to be an easy night. We're going to get out of here. We're going to be, you know, 3-2. We're rolling. And you know what? It actually all started with the dropped interceptions. You know, if they would have had that pick at 14-0, the game's probably out of sight for the Jaguars. But no, they dropped the pick. They got greedy. I don't know. Tranquil and Bolton. I mean, Bolton had it. He bowled it a little bit, but he probably had the pick. But Tranquil just going in for that was just no need. And there you go. From there on, it was just, we went 21 points and answered to the Jags after being 14 up. You just can't do that, especially on the road. You can't do it anywhere, but you just can't do it on the road when you're strolling like that. You get close, and then you're getting the ball back at the start of the third quarter, and you still don't make anything happen with it. And the penalties, the Chiefs were flagged 13 times. Yes, 13 times against I believe the most penalised team in the league, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had 4 penalties. We had 13. It's just unfathomable that can even happen. If you make 13 errors that result in flags, you're going to lose the game. If the Chiefs get half of that, they're in the danger zone, but they probably win the game. But there was 13 penalties for 109 yards. It's just inexplainable, inexcusable, and it's not on. It's just not good enough. The special teams was, quite frankly, awful. Awful. You had Jack Cochran. He had 2 penalties alone. How was a player who's basically on the fringes of the linebacker room getting back-to-back penalties? It just can't happen. Costing the game. There was just so undisciplined. It's a word I've used for the past 24 hours. It was so undisciplined by that team all over the shop. You can look at a number of players. You can look at special teams. You can look at defense. You can look at offense. They were just undisciplined all over the park. And the O-line wasn't even that bad this time. Jawaan Taylor had 1 penalty. Last time they played the Jags, he had about 5, or whatever it was, 4 or 5. He wasn't the problem. Would you believe that? If I would have said to you that we had 13 penalties, everyone would have said, "Oh, it's Jawaan Taylor. He must have got half of them." No, he had 1. The O-line was fine. The stealth combustion of that team is just very concerning. They roll at first, everything looks good, and then it goes. You get down to that third quarter where they can get ahead. You're in the red zone. You can get the field goal there, and you're in good stead, because we're playing to a level. You get a field goal, great, but we're actually in the red zone. You think, well, get a score here, we get a touchdown, it's game over. As far as I'm concerned, it's game over. Mahomes throws a pick 6. When does he ever throw a pick 6? Throws interceptions, but a pick 6 is just, it's an error. And you can't, what? Out of every player, you can't go too hard on him, because he's the only player who's been given it 100% every game, maybe even 110% every game, without question. There's some games where we've won literally because of him. There's some games where we've only just been in the game that we've lost because of him. So you can't be too hard on him. The Jags defense is the leading defense in takeaways in the league, and they proved why. Devin Lloyd, phenomenal player. He just read the play he just knew the linebackers knew exactly what Mahomes was going to do. They baited him into it. He fell for it. And the thing is, if he actually threw it out to Kelsey, they had the touchdown there. Pretty easy touchdown. But, they baited him. We got the pick six. And everyone proceeded to miss tackles. Stop. Mahomes, you can give him a pass because he tried to chase it down. He's missed some. I think Kareem Hunt missed one, and then Tyquan Thornton chased him all the way back to our end zone. Nearly had him. He had so close to having him. That guy's unbelievably fast, insane. He actually went for the punch out rather than the tackle, which would have been like would have been an absolute worldy of a saver, but it wasn't to be. And that really swung the game. I think it was a 12.7 points differential swing in the game, and they never really recovered, but they still had chances to win it after that. They still had the chances. They had the Kareem Hunt had the touchdowns. They stopped the Jags a couple of times, but then we have to talk about the build up to that, to just the whole ending of that game, because once again, Harrison Butker has kicked and made an error in his 5th game running this season. And it wasn't a missed kick. It wasn't a missed PAT. He kicked the ball from the kickoff out of bounds. All he has to do is kick it straight. And he kicked it out of bounds and he added more yards on. And what are you doing? Now, I've been saying for weeks, it wasn't quite at that level of concern yet. But now, 5 games in, I'm willing to put the cards on the table and say Harrison Butker is a legit concern. And the thing with the kicker is, I don't actually think it's physical for him, unless he's carrying an injury and we just don't know about it. He's not appeared on the injury report as far as I'm concerned. I really believe it's a mental issue. And when you have a mental issue when you're a kicker, it's a hard funk to get out of. I spoke about this for the last couple of weeks. There's a couple of kickers around the league that have had a job and now they just can't get out of their own heads and they've lost their job or they've gone and signed somewhere else or they've ended up on a practice squad somewhere else. So once that's happened to Harrison Butker, let's be honest, it's the highest paid kicker in the league, but he seemingly has a mental issue. I mean, it's just a mistake at that level. You can't kick the ball out of bounds and add yards onto the team for the opposing team to allow them to drive down the field. It's just unacceptable. He has to be called out and questioned. I'm sure the team are going to do it, but they really have to get it right because it's not even about the highest salary. It's about you have a job to do and you're not doing it to the best of your ability. And it's costing the Chiefs every single week now. Whether it's a missed field goal, whether it's a missed PAT, whether it's a kickoff, there's errors every single place in this game. And it's just not good enough. And then you look at the rest of the flags. Oh, I mean, that final and we had pass interference, but that final one where I was jumping up and down. I thought we'd win the game. I thought as soon as they went for the shot in the end zone on Brian Thomas Jr., it's over. And what do you know? Chamari Connor, defensive pass interference, boom, on the goal line. And as we know, subsequently what happened after, it just can't happen. And the first thing I want to call out is no matter if you're in discipline, you have all these flags. It leads me on to my next point. What on earth is Chamari Connor doing guarding the Jags wide receiver one? For the majority of the game, he got absolutely burned in multiple coverages. That was man on man. The final one was man on man where Brian Thomas would have scored the touchdown if not for the DPI. But why is he there? We've been speaking for weeks about the corner room looks solid. Noel Williams is wow. His snap counts increased. He's bullying legit wide receivers in the league and locking down opponents. And when you see his snap count increasing every week and the opponent's yards going down, he was clearly making a difference. This game, he had 4 total snaps on defense. He played 31 snaps, I believe, on special teams, 4 on defense. Why is he playing 4 on defense when his snap count's been going up every week and he's been proving his worth? Unless he's doing something drastically terrible in practice throughout the week, that's a head scratcher. Because then you're playing Chamari Connor, who is albeit a safety, in the slot, where Trent McDuffie should be playing. So Spags was running this personnel set of 3 safeties and 2 corners, which pushes Trent out into another position. And Shamari Connor's playing the slot, which is Trent's position, and he's getting torched every game, every part of the game. Jalen Watson had a bad game, got absolutely destroyed. If you think about the big play that we gave up, the big chunk again, you know, unfathomable that can even happen. The play we gave up to Travis Hunter was unacceptable. And I just believe, if you think if Noel Williams was out there, he's been so aggressive this season. He'd have been all over it. They just sort of gave them the play. They were in no man's land. It was Ferrari Connor played 100% of the defensive snaps. Do you know how crazy that is to say? He's not, you got whatever was going on with the setup that they had and what scheme Spags wanted to run. He's treating him like Carl Hamilton running 100% of the snaps. That's reserved for your absolute best players. And you have Chamari Connor playing 100% of the snaps, all of the defensive snaps in his position, and Noel Williams playing 4. It's just completely unacceptable. It's my biggest takeaway from that game. When you look at all the plays that were given up in the flags, there is one thing you have to circle and say, well, how did they come to that conclusion to play that, to play that? And there's only one really reason that stuck out to me was the Jags run a lot of sets with tight end personnel, so they're probably wanting to get physical. But Spags has this issue where he loves playing physical players, like players who can tackle basically. But so you think, yeah, okay, tight ends, big guys, they need bigger guys on the field to cope with the tight ends, but it wasn't transpiring like that. You need in situations like that, when you're getting burned, you have to adjust and you have to look and think, well, who's the guy that's been pretty much locked down on wide receiver so far this season? Noel Williams, get him out there and play him. And then another guy, Chris Roland Wallace, who was really highly ranked by PFF, played 11 snaps. These guys have been, proving their worth for the first 4 games of the season. And then it also leads again, like I said, into he's taking snaps in Trent McDuffie's position, and Trent snaps in the slot went drastically down. Why is that? He's your CB1. He's a top 5 cornerback in the NFL, and you're playing him out of position again. But you drafted Noel Williams, you signed Christian Fulton, who's not on the field yet, to move him back into the slot, and now you're playing Chamari Connor, who's been in the team in the slot. It just makes completely no sense. It's something I just can't get my head around at all. And let's just hope they go back to the drawing board and realize the critical error they made in this game. Because if they don't, it's only going to get worse. And we can't, throughout that whole play and that sequence of leading to the DPI, we can't talk about the Jaguars' final touchdown and the absolute whiff of a play that Chris Jones had. And look, I know he's been through it. I know his aunt just passed away a week ago and he's back playing football. But let's just put it out there. He gave up on that play. I'm not having it any other way. I've seen stuff online from other Chiefs fans saying that the Chiefs wanted to let Trevor Lawrence score, but the point is the clock's running down. They want to let him score, apparently, so Mahomes could get the ball back. But not every game is the 13-second game. It's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, NFL games of all time. The likelihood of him doing that again is very slim, even though he is Patrick Mahomes. So I just don't buy that reason whatsoever. And the only reason I don't buy that is because Drew Tranquill and Jerry Tillery were both trying to get Lawrence. The guy fell down once, or maybe even twice. He slipped. You've gained seconds to go and get him, and Chris Jones is just standing there, staring at him, staring into space. Give up on the play. I'm not buying excuses that he was tired. If he's too tired, he shouldn't be on the field. I'm not buying the excuse that they wanted to let him score a touchdown because those players actively trying to sack him. Drew was so close, and he basically got took out by Tillery. Great, exactly what you want to see. It's a running play. The clock's ticking. So if you get him, if you sack him, the game's over. It's just over because the clock's going to run out. But if he goes down or gets a yard or doesn't get in the end zone, the clock's ticking. He's not throwing the ball out of bounds and shaving the clock. And they've got no timeouts left. I think they had 1 maybe. We had 3. It's just unfathomable that Chris Jones could give up there. He's paid so much money. He's got a huge contract. He's the leader of the defense, and he's given up on plays like that. What message does that send out to the rookies? The whole, as far as I'm concerned, he has to be held accountable for that. You know, he's actually even already deleted the social media channels, which tells you that he doesn't want to face the facts of the fans and the analysts are going to bring to him. And everyone, of course, everyone's in uproar, but you have to face the mistakes you've made. Every single week when we lose, Patrick Mahomes goes out there, even if it's not his fault. Even this week, he went out there. Yes, he threw a pick six, but the whole game doesn't rely on him. He went out there and he spoke again. He spoke every single week we lost. He spoke after the Super Bowl loss. Why are these guys not going out there? Why are they ducking it? Why are they deactivating their social medias? Because they know they messed up. It's just not good enough. The team seems out of sorts. To throw up 13 penalties in one game, your team's out of sorts. It's fixable, but right now, as we're talking, it's out of sorts. And I just think one thing that really concerns me, and I had some concerns about safety, but they've been alleviated, to be fair. But it all ties in together now because it doesn't help the secondary. And that is that we have a problem in the D line. I think people wanted additions and they still want additions. We know, well, any fan will tell you they want a D line addition. The D line is average at best, and that's at best. And I'm being serious. Unless something drastically changes, it's Chris Jones and friends. Yes, we paid George. Yes, George is getting pressures, but these guys aren't getting enough pressures. They're not getting to the quarterback enough. They're not getting enough sacks. They're not getting battered down passes like they used to. What on earth are Charles Omenihu and Mike Danner doing? What was the point of bringing Derek Nardi back, who's the worst graded PFF player for the Chiefs? We all knew it was a moronic decision to basically swap him and Mike Pennell around. It's not paid off. The D line is struggling. And if Chris Jones, if I'm not saying he is, but if he's starting to show his age in aspects, you're in trouble as the D line. Because if he's not making plays anymore and you're relying on just George to do it, they're going to get toasted. They have a problem this season. You saw it against. In a sense, you can forgive it against Jalen Hurts because he's going to take off and run. They did a fantastic job of containing Lamar, but we saw it against Justin Herbert. He was just running at will for the whole game, and that's why we lost. Because if you see the end of that game or near the ending, Chris Jones he lost his assignment. Chris Jones again lost his assignment, and Herbert was running all over the D line. And Trevor Lawrence was just running wherever he wanted. They just let him do whatever the hell he wanted to do. And that is just a legit concern. And we hope he needs to stay on the field. He needs to get healthy and stay on the field. You hope Omar Norman Locke can fix some of these problems because when he's on the field, he's damn good. He had that phenomenal sack of Jalen Hurts, exactly what you want in that D line room. But is the D line room's problem because he can't get on the field? No, he's a rookie. You have a load of guys there who are getting paid money and vets, and they're not making plays. And it's one area that just really, 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 really concerns me because we did talk a lot about, oh, I'd love us to add a safety. I don't think we need to add any DBs. I think the DBs are fine. But when the D line's not playing well and getting pressure, that goes against the secondary. It leaves them open to, as we saw, giving up big plays. Can't get to the quarterback and you let him make plays. What do you think is going to happen? It all works in the tandem. I believe at this point, 5 games in, the Chiefs would do good to make a move. Now, I don't know what that move is. Are they going to go out there and throw a big trade together? Probably not. They've never done that like that. A big trade for a defensive lineman this time of season. Probably not happening. You look at the free agents, and one guy that sticks out to me is Christian Wilkins. And yes, there's a bit of, he had a bit of trouble prior, but look, is a guy going to come in and make plays? If the answer is yes, get him in the building, see what he's got, because what they've got right now isn't going to be enough. I believe unless all these guys just really start playing well, even if they got to the playoffs, they're going to struggle with these guys. Josh Allen would run all over them. You might see it in a couple of weeks when we play the Bills. You might see it with Jaden Daniels when we play the Commanders. They'll get run over. It's a really worrying part of the Chiefs' makeup, and I think everyone's in agreement. D-line. All I've seen on Twitter is D-line, D-line. Bit of Spags blame because he did run the wrong schemes. You can't put certain players in certain positions and expect an outcome that we didn't achieve. And you know what the biggest shock and shame is? That the offense has got far better. The offense is putting up points. If Mahomes didn't throw that pick six, they'd have had 35 points, which is a lot for the Chiefs on the road. They could have scored more. They had a couple of drives where they just blanked. The offense looks good. Worthy wasn't 100%. He popped up on the injury report with an ankle, and it was obvious he just wasn't moving as fast, but he did his best. Tyquan Thornton again was active. Hollywood Brown was active. What a phenomenal catch that was on the sideline. I actually saw an analyst say the Chiefs shouldn't have done that because it killed the clock. They were kind of trying to get the clock down and stop the clock. Are you trying to get up the field, or are you trying to slow the clock down? Because there's no guarantee if you run the clock down, you're going to get in scoring position, and that play actually made them score. So it's just a very, very obsolete take. It was a fantastic play. We got up the field. The reason we lost the game was not because we saved time off the clock, or kept time on the clock. It was because we didn't stop the Jaguars scoring. So it really frustrates me when the offense play well and you have the special teams and the defense killing it. And we've seen prior that the defense for seasons by, and we've been on these Super Bowl runs, they've saved the offense. But now it's time for the offensive are putting up the numbers and they're playing well, and the personnel's on the offense. The line's fantastic. The line, if you come into this season and you were saying, "Oh, we lost this game, we lost that game," you thought, "Oh, I bet the line wasn't very good. I bet left tackle wasn't good." The line's fantastic. We actually have a legit left tackle in Josh Simmons, who is going to be that guy for many, many years. The injury concerns are non-existent. He actually popped on the injury report before of an illness, and he played basically a flu game, and he played all the way through it. It was phenomenal. And they didn't give a sack up the whole game. The O-line's fine. The wide receivers are fine. I'm going to get Rashee Rice back in less than 2 weeks now. They're going to cook. The running game was much better. They were flowing. They were flowing. Andy Reid, I'm going to be honest, he is too conservative. There was one before they even scored the first touchdown where they punted. And it was like 4th and 2. And I just thought, don't be so conservative there. Please just go for it. You have to be aggressive because the guys you're going to come up against, the Detroit Lions, God help us, the Washington Commanders, they're going to get aggressive on 4th down. Dan Campbell didn't even treat 3rd down as his last chance. He's like, we've got two of the plays on this drive. No matter where they are on the field, he's an absolute lunatic. The Chiefs have to be ready for that, and the Chiefs' offense needs to start countering teams with that. And the funny thing is, last week Andy was aggressive, and this week he just goes out there, throws the playbook away. Whatever that playbook was, I'm not going to do it this week. I'm going to start punting. There's just no need to be punting that early. And it actually showed up on a report as the 5th worst decision of the week. Which says it all. We're all right. You shouldn't have punted there. At least go for it. Who cares? It's 0-0. You're 5 minutes into the first quarter. Just go for it. You're going to get the ball back anyway. So why not try and get some points? But aside from that, offense was rolling. It's just a shame. It was so exciting, them first 2 scores, to end up losing that game. 14-0, you're not guaranteed anything in the NFL anymore. The Eagles dropped an 18-point lead, I believe. People have dropped worse leads. You need to be putting up more points. It was pivotal in the fact that the Jags striked back and we didn't put more, and then we went out in the 3rd quarter and got the ball and didn't put points. It's not good enough. You can't. The Chiefs, and they're not going to. You can't expect every team to put 40 every week. We're not that kind of team. We're not the Bills who bully little teams, the Detroit Lions. But you need to put the points on the board. If you scored the pick six, you're putting 35 up and you're winning the game, even with all the mistakes. How crazy that is. Even with all them mistakes, all them flags, you're still winning the game. So for me, the offense is there or thereabouts. Rashid Rice comes back. It's fine. The alarming points are the special teams and the defense. And do you know what worries me the most? Is you've got an absolute juggernaut coming into town for Sunday Night Football. And I mean a juggernaut. That is one scary team. They're probably the best team in the NFL. Let's be honest. They just put points up for fun. They've got everything in the arsenal. They've got trick plays. The defense isn't actually even that bad. Yes, they've got injuries in the secondary, but it's not a bad defense. But that offense, wow. I mean, I really worried. We've done a good job. We haven't gave up 100 yards, 100 rushing yards to a running back in 31 games now, I believe. But Sonic and Knuckles, Gibbs, and Montgomery, they scare the life out of me. That is a 1 and 2, well, 1A and a 1B rushing attack that can do all sorts to you. And if the D line's going to put that and you're going to put that secondary out there again, it's going to be a long night. Amon Ra, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporte is coming into his own. They've got other guys making plays in the receiver room. Goff, can cook. It's worrying, scary hours for that Chiefs defense if he's going to roll them out there again. And if they're not going to be disciplined in their play, because the Lions, I believe, are ranked maybe top 5 in essentially punishing teams on special teams or gaining yards on special teams. So if you go out there and you even make, if you go out there against the Lions and you even get half of them flags that we got against the Jags, you're in deep, deep trouble. The Chiefs, to win this game, the Chiefs need to play perfect game, which it's a big ask. Yes, we're at Arrowhead. Yes, we're gonna have the crowd. Yes, of course we're gonna be up for it. I said this before, we've got the personnel to beat any team in this league, but the Chiefs always shoot themselves in the foot. That's how they lose games. The Chiefs never lose, rarely. 9 out of 10 times, the Chiefs lose because it's their own fault. They made this mistake, they did that mistake, or they didn't do that. They could have took this, they could have did this. Every single time. So if the only way they're going to beat the Lions is if they go out there and play an absolutely perfect game, no turnovers, limit the flags. Look, a football team is going to get flags in the game, but you can't get 13 for 109 yards. You have to limit the flags. The special teamers have to lock in. The defense has to lock in. The D line has to lock in and get to Jared Goff, because if they don't, it's going to be a very, very, very long night. Because Amon Ra's on an absolute flash. Jameson Williams is an absolute speedster. Sam Laporte is ripping it up. The 2 running backs they've got the potential to run over the Chiefs all night. D-line, they have to scheme something. If the D-line's not playing well, Spags has to come up with some magic, because if not, the Chiefs are going to go 2-4. But what I will say is, for a very, very negative outburst, even if the Chiefs do go 2-4, I still believe, call me deluded, call me absolutely living in delusional land. If the Chiefs went 2-4, they're still making the playoffs. I don't care. They've done it before. They're 2-3 now. They were 2-3 in 2021. They got to the AFC Championship game. If they go 2-4, they can still make it. We won the Super Bowl against the Niners, going 11-6. I mean, it'd be a mountain to climb. You're at that position where you've lost 4 games already, and you can only afford to drop 2 more games for the rest of the season, which is an insane task. When you got to play the Bills, you have to play the Commanders, the Colts who are on a run. I mean, look, I said this earlier, and this is my truest opinion. They could afford to lose to the Lions. I even hate myself for saying this. They can afford to lose to the Lions. They can afford to lose to the Bills, which do every single regular season. And they can afford one more loss. I don't want them to. They can afford one more loss. But if you can't beat the likes of the Commanders and the Colts at home, you don't deserve to go to the playoffs. And you're not the team you say you are. And the team is actually better in the personnel sense than it was last year. But if you don't beat them 2 teams, you're simply not good enough. And then they still get to play Denver, who actually look like a decent outfit, just a well-oiled machine. Let's play Chargers again at our head. I believe they can beat all these teams.